You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode up in Tulsa today at ORU, specifically the golf indoor facility at ORU, which is outrageous. I wish I had a facility like this, but on the podcast, good mate of mine, college golf teammate, my Welsh brother, I would consider you. Welsh, I mean American brother. You're in my wedding, like, just good mate, and it's been good to catch up for the last 30 minutes to see the golf facility that you guys are in charge of now. But I haven't had you on the podcast yet.
No, I haven't. You know, you've had a few other people on here. I was just waiting for the invite.
Waiting for the invite. But
well, happy to be here.
So for everyone, Tim Braaten's on the podcast. I guess your current role is assistant head coach at ORU?
Assistant golf. We're men's and women's.
Okay. Yeah. So before we get here, because I know we had a conversation about this position end of last summer, and it's very, it was at a terrible timing, really, for a golf coach, which we'll touch on. But going all the way back, give people listening some context. I guess growing up, where you from, and
yeah, I'm from Tulsa originally, from here. Went to SNU, played with Mike at Southern Nazarene in Oklahoma City. Got married down there. Wife was from Tulsa as well, but she went to UCO for nursing, and I had a job down there at Southwestern Christian, and just, decided to stay. It was a good position right out of college. The plan was always to come back right to Tulsa right after college, and it wasn't the right fit. So stayed there. We were there for 10 years, which doesn't even seem like it. But I was the golf coach there from 2017 until this last August. When I got the job here at ORU. So got back to Tulsa. My wife's family lives here, so always good to keep the wife happy, so mother-in-law enjoys it.
Definitely.
My parents are still in Oklahoma City, but we'll see what happens. They might head this way here in a year or two. So
I was thinking that actually the other day when you just coming back and starting the new year and everything. I was like, how long are your parents? Because they followed you down, didn't they, to you and your sister in school and your older brother. But obviously, looking back at your career in golf, like golf is basically associated with you for the last 5 years easily. But was it always like that? What kind of what was your early sporting kind of loves? I guess growing up, was golf involved, or was it other sports?
If you would have told 18-year-old me that I'd be a Division I golf coach, I would have laughed at you. Honestly, I was baseball through and through. Actually, that was my first job out of high school. Out of college was at Southwestern Christian. I helped start the baseball program there in fall of 2013, and then golf was forced on me. Honestly, thank God, obviously, but it was forced on me. The golf coach at Southwestern in the fall of 2017 decided to move back home suddenly in September. So, I did the interim thing for that first fall, and then our athletic director there came to me and says, I think you'd be a good fit, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I did not want to do golf. I was set on baseball. That's what I wanted to do. And Steve Hulsey, our old golf coach at Southern Nazarene, called me and said, look, you're crazy. If you don't do it, you'll do a great job. I was like, okay. So I thought about it and talked to my wife. And my wife was all for it because she thought it'd be more time at home. Little did she know if I was going to do something, I was going to do it right, So we prayed about it. We decided to do it. So I took over in the spring of 18. Took over. We were 118th in the nation. We weren't very good. Had a lot of good kids, just, not a lot of talent, not the best practice facilities. So that's something that I did there. Obviously got a little bit better talent in, got better practice facilities, built indoor facility down there. Obviously nothing like we have here.
Right.
But for an NAI program, it was pretty solid. So I did that, and then, got open doors here, and I was lucky to move back to Tulsa.
Yeah. So going way back, where does golf, I guess, start for you? And, you said that if you'd have told, little kid Tim that you'd be a golf coach, you'd like where does golf? What's your kind of earliest golfing memory?
I remember golfing with my dad when I was 3 or 4. He'd have a push cart or a pull cart back then. They didn't have push carts, pull cart, and I would literally, grab my arms around the bag, and he would pull me, and he would drop a ball, on the fringe of the green, and I would chip it into the hole type thing. I remember doing that, but competitively, I didn't really play much competitive golf until I was high school, college era. It was we'd play golf maybe once a month in between tournaments, or baseball, or I played baseball, wrestling, and football all growing up. So not much time. My parents found a sport for every season. So
the occasional predominantly baseball growing up then.
Yeah, predominantly baseball was the sport. So the weekends that we had off, we'd try to fit golf in, but it just wasn't. It was something I enjoyed, something I loved, but it was never something that I was competitive in. So
growing up, then you love baseball, you love football, and you're playing all those sports. Was baseball kind of like your number one? Hey, I'm going to go to college and play baseball.
Honestly, wrestling I was probably the best at.
Okay.
Just most talented, but wrestling is just growing. You can ask any wrestler, you love it or you hate it. There's no it's all right. And I was good at it, but it was just growing. So my junior year, I decided to step away from wrestling and I stepped away from football as well. So I mainly focused on baseball my junior year. It was I sold out for baseball. For sure.
So baseball initially would have been the love, and then what brings you to, I guess, out down to Oklahoma City, down to SNU from Tulsa?
Yeah, so I was here in Tulsa. I was at Rogers State, and then I was down in Oklahoma City, with my uncle playing in a golf tournament, and we actually got partnered up with Steve Hulsey, which is the head coach at SNU. It was a little stroke play 4-man best ball, and we just got partnered up with him, and it was at Silverhorn. Yeah, the course that closed down there in Edmond, and I played really well, and Hulsey was talking to me. He's like, what do you do? And I was kind of telling him what I do, and he told me, he said, look, you're in the wrong sport, so if you ever get smart and decide to play golf, give me a call. And, that August, I decided, man, maybe this isn't for me, so I give him a call, and he's like, we don't have much money this year, but, if you come up here and you produce and stuff like that, we can, we can get you academic and whatnot this year, but we can help you out after that. Yeah. And so I went down to SNU and played golf and loved it,
What do you think when you walk on the golf team? When I'm sure you've been a part of a golf team in high school, but, predominantly baseball locker room is the total opposite to golf,
And there was some things I missed about baseball. Obviously you play 5 guys. There's a team aspect, but like baseball or football, you're all on the field at the same time. You're seeing everybody at the same time. Where golf, you tee off on one, you don't see them until the 18th green. Right. You're out there by yourself. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's your fault.
Yeah.
So I miss the team aspect in that sense, but golf's a whole different dynamic of team aspect, you know. So it's so it was different for me, I remember my first qualifier, first practice. You can ask Heinrich. He played at SNU with us. I walk out there with a flat bill, and I looked like a baseball
big
player.
Big ugly glasses. Yeah.
He's like, who is this guy? So he it was different. It took a little bit of adjusting. I'm a loud guy by heart, so just being on the course, you're not supposed to be loud and brash, and so I had to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, but so. What kind of, obviously I know your story pretty well because we've been friends for, it's been 10 years since I've been here, so it's been a long time. But, looking back on it, you can see elements of your golf, your university golf career, kind of that coaching side of it. Because even when you didn't make the top 5, you would still travel with the team and help coach out, right?
Yeah, that was the first time that I coached, if you will. If I didn't make top 5, I'd travel with the team, which truthfully, it got to the point where I honestly enjoyed that more than playing. Yeah. Obviously I loved playing and loved competing, but just that aspect of it, helping somebody, talking somebody through shots, that was like, and that's even when Hulsey was like, man, you could do this if you really wanted to. You think, well, every coach tells a kid, they're not going to say, hey, you suck at this. I would never do this for the rest of your life. So I thought he was just being nice, but when he called me back in, the Christmas of 2017, said, look, you're crazy if you don't do it. Like, I've seen it, you can do it. You can make a career out of this. It just meant a lot. Hulsey is a Hall of Famer, so when he says something, you kind of listen. So,
yeah, he knows what he's doing when you're talking about coaching and kind of leadership and stuff like that. But it wasn't, like I said, before that phone call in 17, it wasn't golf, right? You went, when you graduated university, you went to help Bethany baseball, right? Because it wasn't at that time when you graduate, you were looking to become a teacher.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that was the plan. So I ran out of eligibility. I had a victory lap or two in college. That you're supposed to graduate in 4. I didn't. So I ran out of eligibility before I ran out of classes. So my last year of classes, I was a lay coach, I guess, at Bethany. I think I made $600 a semester, just scraping by. But it was one of those things, like you said, I wanted to be a teacher. So I thought if I get my foot in the door here at Bethany, hopefully it'll help me get a job, when I'm done with school. And then SU offered me the job, and I was actually the RD. So I lived in the dorms for 2 years.
Right.
Try convincing your wife, hey, did you have fun living in the dorms in college? Yeah, why? Well, let's move back. So I did that for 2 years, but she will tell you that, our one regret is maybe not living there one more year because it was free,
Right, yeah. I mean, when you're young, you don't have a kid, right?
We were able to, it really financially kicked us off.
Yeah.
So it was huge.
It's and now when we look back and we remember our RDs when we were in school, and you're like, oh, I get it. That's why they kept doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's why they did it for 6 years. You're like, oh, man, makes sense.
I mean, if you're making a real salary and you're not paying, $1,000 a month or whatever it's for a house, like you're saving real good money. And then the food and all the other stuff.
Every little thing.
Yeah. I mean, okay, there are times where you have to be there all the time.
Yeah, or the 2 a.m. phone calls where somebody's being a dummy. You have to
put an Oreo in the microwave and the firemen are on their way.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally worth it. But still, at that point, it was baseball and teaching.
Correct. It was never golf was far from the picture. That's you look back now. I'm 32 now. You look back and you're just going, God had a plan at everything.
Right.
It's one of those things that in the moment you're just like, what are we doing here? And then all of a sudden you're just like, because in 2000 when I took over the golf program, I mean. We were bad. 118th in NAI.
We're an unknown. I mean, from my perspective, it was like, are you even going to have a program next year, right?
We went to SNU, and for people that don't know, SNU's across the street.
Yeah.
SNU's across the street, and I had no clue SCU or Southwestern Christian had a golf team.
Right.
So it went from an unknown program to people that, I'd be walking through Walmart with an SCU hoodie, and they'd be like, oh, do you play at Southwestern Christian? I'm like, no, I'm the coach. Like, they knew, so it was a big change, from that. So yeah, golf was a long ways from any idea of something that I thought I could do for a career.
Yeah, but when you got that phone call, it made sense for you to change because also you weren't traveling as much with a baseball team, right?
Correct.
You travel less with a golf team.
Correct.
Even though you're away, it still made sense for the family as well.
Baseball, you play, every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and if you're at home, that's great, but a lot of times you're on the road. Right. Where golf, you play Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday, so you're gone longer periods of time, but you play 11 tournaments a year, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. So getting into when you take over the golf program, you're still teaching as well as as teaching. I guess as a college professor at that point, teaching history.
Correct.
Which is one of your other many loves, right?
Yeah.
If anyone knows Tim, he loves talking about history, and keeps reminding me of back-to-back World War champions and all the other stuff that.
Well, we won a war before that too. That Mike knows a little bit about
the stuff like that. That's all humorous banter between us that people listening might not even understand. But you take over this unknown golf program. And I mean, anything that you do is probably seen as progress because it's at the bottom of the bottom, right? Like, which is coming in as a coach is a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah. Right? It's a good thing because anything you do, you're going to be successful.
Yes.
And a bad thing because you got a lot of work ahead of you. And we had a conversation, I think early last year in your office, and it's only taken 3 years, right? And I said, do you think you'd get here in 3 years? And like, there's no way. I thought it would be a stretch to get it at 5. But tell me about kind of like your mentality early on and kind of like your process and people you seeked and just kind of help as, if I'm going to do this, and you mentioned it earlier, if I'm going to do something, I do it right. What was your process as coming in as a first time head coach of 2 programs, not just, you got guys and girls, and kind of like what were your early processes to set a foundation that you could build on to one day make a national championship and win tournaments and be successful? I
mean, I'm like you said, I'm going to figure it out one way or another. So I asked a lot of questions. That's we joke around all the time that I've never had a good player that didn't ask questions.
Right.
Bad players don't ask questions because they don't want the answer. Good players ask questions. They're going to ask, okay, how can I do this better? How can I do that better? Same thing with coaches. Good coaches ask questions. You look for mentorship. You look for somebody that's done that, knows more than you. Because if you think you've arrived, you haven't. There's always somebody that can do better. Even Nick Saban has mentors, and he's probably the best college football coach ever, and he has people that he talks to. So, I went out and I looked for, people that did it, have done it, being where I was in Oklahoma City, he had Kyle Blazer. So I talked to Kyle Blazer some, said, hey, what do you got to do? So he would send me some of the people that he talked to, or, knowing Elliott with College Sports America, or, so I knew that my dad always says you can't win the Kentucky Derby with a mule. You can be the best daggum jockey, but if you're riding a mule, you ain't going to win it. Yeah. But you can be a terrible jockey, and if you have a best quarter horse, you're going to win it. So we went and got some thoroughbreds, and it makes coaching easy whenever you can say, hey, let's hit this shot, and they can do it, So we went and got some better players. I was constantly recruiting, whether it be through, social media these days. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then, you're from overseas, you got all these agencies now where it's easier for internationals to get over here more than it was even, I'd say 5 or 10 years ago. There's with you is Pro Dream and a couple others. Now
there's 3, I think, at the time,
I think
10
there's
years ago.
maybe 3 or maybe 5 tops. Well, now you have 25 agencies. So you got, so I just got in with all those people, and I just tried to find the best kids with the best fit. Yeah. And I did a really good job of taking chances on kids, kids that were under recruited or got cut from a better program or whatever it is. Coaching, you got to coach through relationships. You got to love a kid. You got to tell them you love them. Let them show them. You can tell a kid you love them, but you got to show them. So if they know you care about them and you're willing to run through a wall, then they're going to do the same thing for you. So we did fundraisers that they were terrible. We would work OSU or OU football games, and I'd go there right with them. You know, and that's what I always tell the kids. I'm a no excuse guy, so I'm going to make sure you don't have an excuse, whether it be finances, whether it be practice facilities, whatever it is. And that's other stuff I did. In the summers, I'd work at Gallardi or Oklahoma City and get in good with the pros there, so I could call them and say, hey, can we come qualify on a Tuesday? Sure, come on out. And that's something that they didn't have before I got there. So it was tough, but it was something that had to be done.
Right, and I love that, and I rode the bus with you to an OSU game when you went and worked security with your team, and I went and had a great time at the game, and then rode the bus back. Excuse me, but there's really cool. You mentioned building a team that knows that you would run through a wall for them, and I can definitely say that about all the guys at SCU. That you didn't just have respect as a coach, you had respect as a human being as well, which is sometimes it's very hard to get both. Which is really cool to see that the guys respected you and they knew that you were constantly working towards making it easier and better for them, and like you said, taking out the excuses, like I said, whether it's finances or facilities. You saw was it the transport office or the bus office or whatever?
It was maintenance shed.
You saw the maintenance shed at SCU, which everyone pretty much drives by. If you drive past the school that just had buses parked outside it, almost full of nothing, to turning it into an indoor facility with a putting green and a gym and a TrackMan, or it's flight scope, whatever it is. But not only did you see that, you also went out and raised the money for it as well, which is, more work than just, getting in there, right?
A few phone calls,
yeah. But I want to, you told me a story about going back to having mentors as coaches. I want you to share the story about when you called up OSU's old coach.
McGraw.
Tell me about that, because that, for me, really surprised me with that whole story.
Yeah, so I took over the program, like I said, in spring of 2018, and I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who, and they're like, do you read? And I was like, yeah, I like to read. They're like, well, you need to read the book, Better Than I Found It by Coach McGraw, and it just kind of talks about what he did at OSU and, stuff that he's doing at Baylor and his little bit of time at Alabama.
Yeah.
I said, okay, and so I read it. It took me 5 days. It's an easy read. And it just kind of talks about stories, and honestly, it kind of talks about his practice plan, how he qualifies.
It's a coaching Bible.
It really
right?
is a coaching book, and for lack of better words.
Yeah.
So I read it and I emailed him. I'm pretty sure his email is actually in the book, if I remember correctly. So I'm like, I'll email him and just see. And I mean, 3 hours later, even when he's back, he's like, look, I got some recruiting. I emailed him in March, I think. He said, look, we got obviously season going on, and I'm going to be out of town. How does June 8th sound? I'm like, shoot, yeah, I can make it June 8th. And he said, can you be in Waco by 8? I said, yeah. I mean, Waco was 5 hours from Oklahoma City. So me and my assistant at the time woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and hit the road, got there at 8. And I'm thinking, he's going to show us a tour and give us a couple hours. Yeah. We didn't leave Waco until like 6 o'clock that night. It was just everything that he could think of, and between what they did for workouts, how he recruited, how he treated his players, how he did practice, how he encouraged his players, how he would push his players, whatever it was, and he just broke it all down. I'm over there, my hand hurt for like a week because I just wrote everything down that he had to say, and I just kind of took that back, and I was like, look, if this guy can do it at this level, why can't I do it at the lower level? So I kind of just took what he said and did the same thing, and it was great. Still fairly close with McGraw today. He'll text you from time to time, good tournament, or when we made nationals, he congratulated us, because I went and saw McGraw the summer after my first year. Yeah. Just finished 5th in conference. And I mean,
treading water.
Oh, man.
Right.
I don't even know if we were treading at that point. I think we were drowning, so it was just, and I think that was kind of the kicky start of where the program kind of got to where it is today even.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because you can't, even when you go to recruiting, right? How do you recruit people to a program that's an unknown program, especially when you want to build better players and get better players? It kind of reminded me of like the whole Moneyball scenario where you're like, I'm not going to get the elite players because they're just not going to come here, and I don't have the dollars to fight with them, the bigger universities. But actually it goes back to having a coaching plan and then building them up to be, you're taking risks.
No, and anything I can take from the NAI level to now, I think starting where I did helps me. Yeah. Because not only financially, if I ever become a head coach at the Division I level or anywhere else again, at this level, obviously there's more money than the NAI level. Yeah. So anywhere I'm at, it taught me to pinch pennies, how to raise money, how to fundraise, how to pinch pennies, how to make a budget, how to stick with a budget. And then like you were saying, the main thing that I got is how to develop players, because you're not getting the best. Right. So it taught me how to develop players, take what they have and make them better. Obviously they have to work for it. They have to want it. It's just like, somebody being overweight and wanting to lose weight. Yeah, you can make them work out, but you can't control what they're eating at home. Right. Same thing where I was. Like, I can give them what it takes to be better, but, so they had to buy in, and then, I'd say after my second or third year, the recruiting gets easier. Much easier. Once you start getting better, it gets easier. You call a kid, hey, we're the top 25 in the nation. Well, they're going to listen. Imagine calling a pretty good player and saying, hey, we're 118th in the nation. Right. And then all of a sudden you got, I think he hung up on me, So, but it got easier after that. And then, you don't change, you adapt, so. You practices, I would say, adapted from my first year to my last year at SU, and even here at ORU, because you got to adapt to your players. Well, I mean, I broke it down the basics my first year, because a lot of kids just didn't even know the basics. You had kids from the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, that had never had a swing coach. They were just raw talent. So if you broke it down to them, that's how they'd get better that way, to where in the last year the kids could come in and actually hit a flop shot. Yeah. So you didn't have to teach them how to hit a flop shot anymore. So you had to evolve practice to where it made them improve. So
so you're right. You're starting off with basic fundamentals. Like this is actually how you practice. Correct. To get better. Because growing up, I mean, I didn't know how to practice, right? You don't have practice plans or whatever. I mean, kids these days, all you need is to Google them and you can get a practice plan and you're set. But like you said, it's putting them in an environment with a bunch of guys that we're going to get better, and then they're going to get better and learn from each other. Correct. Which then makes your job easier, because then you're just like, hey, let's just, let's figure this out and work towards it. And then when they get better, it's refining those plans, details, and competition gets stronger. And like I said, you build a team that believes in themselves as well. I think that's probably one thing that you, looking back, would realize, that when you finally made it, you started winning golf tournaments, right? Where was that first win?
So I was actually not with the men's team when they won the first tournament. I was with the women's team. We had just had Wyatt. Yeah. He might have been 6 months old, maybe. And I was with the women. The women stayed in Oklahoma City, playing at Lincoln that tournament. So I sent my assistant coach, Morgan, at that time with the men's team to Kansas City. It was actually a match play. That was the fall of 2019, so it was right before the year of COVID, the shortened season. And we won our last tournament of the fall. Won a match play. We beat the number 12 team in the nation in the championship. And I think that if you have to go back and say, okay, that's where we, crapped or got off the pot, that's where we got off the pot, for a lack of better words. That's where our guys are like, okay, we're actually good. We can beat anybody.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what set us forward. And then we went to Houston, the first tournament of the spring. We won at Houston. And then we go to San Antonio, and we finished third at San Antonio, beat a bunch of ranked teams, and then COVID happened. And I think, we just took all that. Everybody was disappointed. One, you lost golf, and two, everybody's like, man, I think this was our year. And we had a shot, So I would say that tournament in Kansas City, that was our first win, but I would definitely say that's when the aha moment. Okay, we can do this. Like, we are good.
See the belief in your players.
Because as a coach, your job is to tell your kid. You got to be honest with your kids. But you can't be brutal. You can't say you suck. So I would always tell the guys, like, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And then finally that fall, I was like, guys, we're good. Like, we just got to produce. And finally everything clicked there in Kansas City. And about that, I remember them coming home, and they come into my office. They're like, we can do this. And I always tell people all the time, a team that believes is dangerous. A team that believes that they can do it is very, very dangerous. And that's even something that happened last year when I was at SCU. They believed that they were the best team in the nation, and more times than not, they were.
And especially when they're the underdog, too, right?
Well, that's
you're
what
in
I was
an underdog program, you're in an unknown program, and you're coming up, no one knows who you are, no one either cares who you are, and then you show up, and like you said, you're like, whoa. Who are they? Like, Southwestern what? Like, where do they come from?
We were the name that you'd look at and go, who the heck are they? They must suck. They must be in a terrible conference. They must do this or that. And then we'd beat the crap out of you. And you're going, oh, okay, they're actually good.
Right.
We just had, we had 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that just would go out every day and compete and thought they were the best. They might not have been the best, but I'm telling you, fake confidence is better than no confidence.
Definitely. So, and to cap that year off, you make nationals, right? Which was the goal all along. But when we had that conversation, it was the goal. You think, I'm going to get there in 5 years, and it turned out to be 3.
Correct.
Just the buzz of the team thinking, now we've made nationals, we're going on a road trip or whatever. How was the whole week?
Oh, man, that week was insane. It was so. To backstory, so really to go to nationals, you got to be top 17 in the nation, or win conference.
Right.
That's kind of like the recipe, if you will, to go to nationals. And that year, I thought we were the best team in the conference, and we had been all year. But to win conference, somebody's got to get hot. Whoever has that one hot guy that goes out and just torches a course, that's who usually wins it. And we beat Oklahoma City, 6 out of 7 times that year. I mean, just torched them. We were the better team. We were. And then we go to national conference, and I'm thinking we're at the time we're 19th in the nation. Weren't getting the respect that I thought we deserved, but I was like, we're going to win conference. And Oklahoma City, a guy just gets hot. We're at Dornick. If anybody knows Dornick, it's same designer as Southern Hills, which is where they're playing the PGA Championship, but it's just not as long, but still you got to hit it. You could be in the middle of the fairway and have to hit a punch underneath a tree. But they had a guy that just got hot and shot, I think, 9 under, which is insane out there.
Insane.
Greens are super fast, rough is long. Can't get it to stop, and just they beat us by I think 9 shots. Guys are hurt. First thing they ask is, "Are we going to nationals?" I have no clue at that point. And the whole time, you're telling them, they're asking, "How do we get all year long? How do we get to nationals? How do we get to nationals? Be top 17, win conference. Those are your 2 ways." Like I said, we were 19th. We don't win conference. So everybody's like, it's a year over. And I knew that we finished on a Tuesday. I knew the emails for qualifiers came out that next Monday. It was the longest 5 days of my life. You know, that weekend before, you know, you're just constantly pacing. And I just remember getting that email. I think we dropped to number 15. Even though we lost to Oklahoma City, we had beat Wayland and Wesleyan, that were number 12 and number 6 in the nation. So we dropped to 15. We get in. We go nuts, just having a good time. So then we had 2 weeks off before conference and nationals. So that week before, we just did a lot of really good practice, went to a bunch of cool places and played. But that week before, it was so much fun. We played at TPC to run, drove up there.
Yeah.
Course is immaculate, you know. But I mean, the guys, it was one of those things that I asked them on the way up. I said, I mean, was our goal to get here? Or is our goal to win?
Right.
And they said, well, our goal was to get here, but we're here now. So now our goal is to win.
Yeah.
And I loved it, you know. Like,
right.
And that's the thing, is your goal's always got to change. You know, once you get that goal, your goal's got to change, I should say. And so that's what I told them all week. I was like, don't be surprised if we win this.
Yeah.
Don't be. Only people in the country, everybody else is going to be surprised, but we shouldn't be. But it was such a great week.
Because you had tough first round, second round was much better.
No,
really good first round and
tough second round.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
but still, like you know, when they go back there over the years, now they're used to it, right? The players are used to it.
Correct.
And, you know, doesn't happen very often where the first team to qualify for nationals in their program history wins it, right?
Yeah.
Like Cinderella story or whatever. Like, it doesn't happen very often. But also, you know, you have a great resume. Then, you know, you've taken this team from nothing to nationals in 3 years. You're winning golf tournaments. You have guys who, you know, are playing other tournaments around the world or whatever, and just, you know, you're recognized as a program. And obviously other people start recognizing you because, you know, you apply for some other jobs and then, you know, you get a phone call that says, well, this job's available, come up here.
Correct.
Which, back to what we started the podcast, like, coming home was always the plan.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Right? But you didn't expect it to happen, right?
Well,
Especially not 2 weeks before school started.
Well, I mean, when you live in a place for 10 years, you know, home is where family is. You know, Tulsa was home. But, you know, I got married in Oklahoma City, had my first kid in Oklahoma City.
Mom, dad, sister.
You know, everybody was in Oklahoma City. Sister was there, you know, and Oklahoma City was only an hour and 45 minutes down the road. So it was, I thought Oklahoma City was going to live. You know, we liked Tulsa, but it was never at that point. You know, when we first got married, that was the plan. But 10 years later, that wasn't the plan anymore. So, when I got the call to, you know, this position was available, it was bittersweet, I guess, for lack of better words, because it was in August. It was terrible timing. I mean, but I don't know if there's ever good timing.
Never good timing, but I mean, the week before school starts.
It was tough. It was tough.
It's tough to leave a program like that, you know. And I remember you telling me about, like, you know, the conversation that, you know, you had to tell your team. You were crying, and like, I mean, I would have too. Like, you've just spent 3 years like building these college athletes, these young humans up into, you know, like, you know, not just you know, on the golf course and off the golf course, respectable humans and successful. And then you go to say, sorry guys, like, I know our job's not finished here, but I've been given an opportunity and I'm going to take it.
Which all of them took it well. I mean, obviously we're all sad, you know, all disappointed, you know, but every single one was like, we get it. You know, if we had an opportunity to do that, we'd do it too.
Right.
But it doesn't make it easier, you know. It was one of those things that I interviewed on a Wednesday, and I was at work in Tulsa that next Monday. So it's just, I guess it's better than, you know, it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. You know, I guess that was the good thing about it. But it was tough. It was tough for sure.
And I mean, you walk into this facility after, you know, building what you've built at SCU. Like I said, you walk into a D1 program with a huge budget, amazing donors, one of the best indoor facilities in the country, and you're like, this is speechless, right? Because I mean, just walking in here, you got, you know, you just look at the resume of golf courses, the team practices at the outdoor facility, the indoor facility. You know, you got 4 bays, putting. I mean, you got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donor money here, possibly millions that you know, that's aimed to give a golf program success and no excuses. Back to what you said earlier. And you're not teaching now, right? You're just coaching. Just coaching. Which, again, going back to what you said earlier, like, you thought you'd, you know, if little Timmy said, you're going to be a golf coach, you're like, no, I don't think so. And now you're at this, you know, huge program back where you grew up at home. I mean, you must have been walking in here licking your lips thinking this is the best place in the world.
It was nuts. Walked in here for the interview that day, and I'm just going, I was proud of what we built. My dad,
Right.
me and my dad literally built the facility.
Yeah.
Put from 2x4s to we did everything in that facility. Fundraised for everything, bought everything ourselves.
Yeah.
From the wood to the carpet. we did it all. So there was a lot of sweat equity and blood equity and all that stuff in there.
Rabbit's knees.
Oh yeah, it was a little bit of everything. So yeah, you were proud of it. And for an NAI program, it was a good facility, and then you come here and you're just like, it's night and day difference. It's just it's nuts for sure. So
yeah, I remember you'd been here maybe 2 weeks, and we had a conversation, and I just said to you, I think, how's it going? And you said to me, I figured it out. And I was just like, you've been there 2 weeks. What have you figured out? And I think it was to do with looking back at your, the mentors that you've reached out to, the practice plan that you had at SCU. Even though these guys up here had an amazing facility, they lacked a little bit of the practice structure that you had at SCU, which means that you came in with something totally different, able to help the team out, right?
Well, and that was like the thing that's beautiful about having coaches and assistants. Because I used to tell my assistant all the time, and this sounds mean, but he always understood it wasn't mean. Like, I want you to have different ideas for me.
Yeah.
Because if we think the same, one of us is useless.
Right.
I want you to come in with new ideas. And that's even what Coach Watson said here at ORU. He's like, I want you to have new ideas. I want you to come up with stuff. I want you to come in here and take ownership, I guess, for lack of better words, of the program and stuff like that. So yeah, it was one of those things that, we have the facilities, we have everything, and they worked hard, and they're disciplined, but it was just different ideas.
Refining that work to
absolutely,
to, I guess, what's the right word for optimize the hours spent, right? Make them more efficient in their practice.
People that think you have to practice 8 hours a day, that'd be good, but
if you thousands of balls,
it's quality over quantity, and that was the thing here is I'd come in and guys would be practicing for 5 hours a day. But I'd be going, what did you get better at? And they couldn't answer, to where now we cut that 5 to 2 or 3. And they're like, I got better today. Well, how do you know that? Because, this or that, so it's a quality over quantity type thing. Being
here, it's you've been here since August, right? So what are we in, almost 6 months? Yeah. What are how have your eyes been opened to being in a D1 program, tournaments you traveled to? ORU, I guess, in the conference is kind of similar to SCU was, right? They're a little bit underdog. You've got a big conference. You've got some great teams in the conference. So it's kind of like you're in a comfortable position because you know this position.
No, so as far as D1, it's just, I tell people this all the time. Like, I can't even explain it. You know, just the money's different. Here at ORU, we're considered a poor program, if you will. But we have way more money than I ever did at SCU. But with that, like at SCU, you don't have to travel as much. Your traveling budget's less, or we're driving. I've driven to Mobile. I've driven to Phoenix. I've driven to Florida. You
I was on the bus to
for
Florida
20 hours.
Jeez.
Nonstop.
I never want to do that again.
Me neither. So I
sat in the footwell making sure you were still awake. God, that was awful.
No, so it was one of those things that here, instead of driving 20 hours, you're getting on a plane, and instead of playing in Oklahoma City, you're playing in Palm Springs. So there's that difference. At this level, and I tell people this all the time, there's not very much difference between the 25th team in the nation and 180th team in the nation, because everybody's good. It's just like the NBA. You could be the worst team in the league, but you can still beat the best team. Same thing here. We have just as much talent or ability as anybody else. But some people don't make the mistakes we make. So that's just something that we've been working on here. Do the simple stuff. Do the simple stuff right, and everything will, the chip that you're supposed to get up and down, get up and down. The chip that is impossible, if you get it up and down, great. But let the basic chip, get up and down. The 3-foot putt, make it, You don't have to make 40-footers. Yes, they're great to do it, but do the basic stuff right. And, that's the main difference for sure.
Well, and it's such a fine, like I said, everyone's at this level, right? There's not a huge difference between, top 25 and 118th. Like it's one shot here or there, isn't it? Whereas NAIA, it might have been 2 or 3 or 5, or I mean, you've seen leaderboards where the OCU back in the day would win by 30 shots. And you're like, how have they done that?
And that's where you got to tip your cap to that OSU team a couple years ago when they had Wolf and Hovland. Well, they don't even win the national championship because it goes to match play, but in stroke play, they were up by like 42 strokes. And at this level, that is just insane. Yeah. You can go look at any leaderboard, and you're going to have the winner that's going to win by 2 or 3 strokes, and then you're going to have the peloton, as I like to call it, of just 15 teams that are within 3 strokes of each other. Right. So it's like you said, it's a stroke here or there. Where at the NAIA level, you're going to have one team win by 10. Your second place team's going to be 10 back, and then third place is going to be 10 back as second place. Right. Where it's not, that double the guy gets here really does affect you. Where if you make a double or something like that, it affects you, but not nearly as bad.
As much.
Yeah.
So wrapping up then for people listening who, I mean, they're either golfers themselves or just as athletes. They know they're never going to have a professional career in sports, but they love the coaching aspect. Any advice going forward for those people, and just kind of if you. Yeah, just give them advice first, and I want to ask you one more after that.
Advice as a coach?
Yeah, like if you're listening to 17, 18-year-old you or 21-year-old you that's in college now, that you think, I want to be a coach, what would you do?
I mean, I would just say, the thing I tell people all the time is read. Yeah. Read. Good players always read. Good coaches always read. There's always something out there to learn. And you don't have to just read golf books. Read leadership books. Read anything, anything that's going to help you improve, helps you, one, learn how to speak more eloquently. Yeah. You learn bigger words, and 2, there's always something you can learn. Obviously as a golf coach, I read a lot of golf books between Jack, Tiger, or whatnot, just you want to read the best, because they're going to be able to give you the most insight. But I'd say read. And I'd say the thing that I tell people all the time is everybody is talented, but not everybody works. So if you're the hardest stinking worker, you're going to be successful. So no matter what, work hard. I tell our kids all the time, I say successful people aren't successful because they're smarter. They're successful because they work harder. I said, if you need, if you're waking up at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, the person's already got 3-hour head start on you. Yeah. So get up at 6. Yeah. So that's what, just outwork everybody.
Would you do anything differently looking back at the last 5-6 years?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, everything that I've done, like we've talked about, has helped me prepare me for where I am now, whether it be saving money or this or that. It's because there's times where you got to pinch yourself for me and be, I'll say stuff that I'm like, God, I would have kicked my butt if I would have said that 2 years ago. Whether, we're eating at this steakhouse, where like at SU, it's like, hey, we're eating at Chick-fil-A, and everybody's like, yeah, right. So yeah, you got to stay humble. That's the main thing. Stay humble. Remember where you came from. I always do. We have sand bunkers outside, so I'll do reminders where I'll go pick weeds out of there just to remind myself where I came from. So you got to remember where you came from.
That's one thing that I think a lot of people forget, isn't it? Is remember. Even last year, right? You remember where you were last year, and if you've consistently progressed, like always remembering where what your dreams were 3 years ago. Yeah. And you might be living that dream now, and then in 3 years' time, your dreams are gonna be different. You're like all that stuff.
You're always living somebody else's dream, right? If you think about it, there's somebody out there right now that's 32 years old like me that would love to be where I'm at. Yeah. And I don't say that arrogantly, And there's people that are living a dream maybe that I would like, So don't look at your life that poor me, like you're living somebody else's dream. Somebody would love to probably be doing podcasts and selling houses like you do, So take everything you have and be humble about it and cherish it, and just work harder than the next person.
Definitely. Goals for this year, last question.
Man, goals for this year, God. Winning conference would be huge, both sides, men's and women's. We got a really good shot both ways. Our girls are really, really good. We got Sarah Bell that, her last tournament, she shot 16 under at Ozark National in Branson, just torched the play. It was insane. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. We got her and we got Kiana. She was an LSU transfer, so she'll help us out. And then we just got 4 other girls that really can just help us out big time. So we got a shot. Denver's tough. They're the best team. They've won conference multiple years in a row.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to compete super, super hard. So we're excited. Same thing with the guys' side. We got a transfer in at break. I think it's going to help us out a lot. And Denver is the same. They're tough on the guys' side, but I think we have a shot. The guys are buying in.
Yeah.
And working hard. I mean, heck, it's 30 degrees outside right now. We're in the indoor facility, and they're hitting wedges and
grinding.
stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure people listening have heard shots in the background. That's golf shots, not gun shots. People hitting golf balls and practicing. But mate, thanks for taking the time out of your day to share some stories. It's good to catch up.
Absolutely.
And for people listening, I'll post Tim's, I guess, probably the ORU Instagram, so you guys can go check that out and keep up with him. And if you have any questions for Coach, you can send them to him about leadership or what books he's reading or people to reach out to. So thanks so much for that, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.